This right here is the new Lumix 28-200mm lens, the newest lens to the L mount system. And by the end of this video, I'm gonna give you guys two people that I think this lens is perfect for. But before that, let's just talk about the lens itself. And a quick disclaimer, Lumix did send me out this lens to try out, but they didn't require me to film any video whatsoever. This is my honest and truthful opinion. Starting off the price itself, this lens comes around $899, and for the physical build, it's a solid, firm plastic all around. The thread size on top is the 67mm thread, which is similar between all the other lenses, like the 20-60 kit lens and all the other 6 prime lenses, which makes it really nice if you have a filter and you can put all your filters on the same one. But if you do have a bigger filter, I do suggest getting these. These are just step-up rings that will step up the 67mm to an 82mm or whatever filter thread you use. I personally like having a bigger filter for all my cameras, mostly because if I have one lens that's an 82mm and all my other lenses will be able to adapt to those filters instead of getting individual filters for each lens. The next parts about this lens, similar to all the other Lumix lenses, is it does have the autofocus to manual focus switch. And then on the bottom here, it has the optic image stabilization on and off switch, which if you want to get a more natural and shaky handheld look, that's pretty nice to be able to turn off your optic image stabilization on the lens itself instead of having to go into the menu systems. For the weight itself, this is coming around 413 grams or about 0.9 pounds. So this is almost double the weight of the standard prime lenses, but it's only about 50 or so grams heavier to the other kit lens like the 20-60. And the engineers really thought this lens out. If you want to balance this on a gimbal, you just have to set it at the 75mm mark, and then you can zoom all the way out or all the way in, and it will be perfectly balanced on the gimbal, not causing really almost any tension at all on any of your gimbals. Now, this is an f4 to f7.1, which I was personally hoping this would have been like more of an f3.5 to a 5.6. But with that all considered, every time I was using this lens, I was pretty surprised about the quality still. And the bokeh was still pretty usable for most scenarios. So I took this lens out to the zoo to go capture all this B-roll I'm using to show how this lens actually works. One thing I did notice though, on the sharpness, when you are fully zoomed out to the 200mm mark, it does get a little bit less sharp the farther you're zooming out and the farther you're looking into the distance. Or if you're super tight on a subject, sometimes I noticed the shots weren't as sharp as an image as I would like. And for the focal range, it is at 28-200mm, but when you are shooting in 4K 60 frames a second, at least on the S5 II or 2X, since it has that 1.5 times crop factor, this lens turns from a 28-200 to a 42-300, which is kind of nice because you can actually turn on the APS-C crop in the standard 4K 24 or 30 frames a second. So it's kind of making your 28-200mm more like a 28-300mm using the crop modes inside the camera. And for stabilization, this has 6.5 axis stabilization with this lens, which is really nice. I was doing some comparison tests showing the 28mm fully zoomed out with stabilization, without stabilization, and then turning on electronic stabilization, and you can almost get very close to gimbal-like footage. And it's also really nice being able to use boost image lock stabilization fully zoomed out, maybe also a mix with electronic stabilization, and getting basically tripod-like shots super zoomed out. And this is really nice, especially if you are in any type of scenario where you need one lens that can do it all basically. And one last thing that I think is really cool about this lens is actually using it for macro like photography. So from the glass itself, you can be 3 centimeters away from the lens, which basically you can shoot super close up to things when you are fully zoomed out. And on top of that, since macro photography, you don't want a ton of bokeh, something they did add to this lens most other lenses have an f-stop from wherever they start, and you can go all the way to an f22, for example. But in this lens, when you are fully zoomed out at 28mm, you can go all the way up to an f45. And if you zoom all the way into 200, the f45 drops down to an f32, which is just kind of a unique little feature to have on this lens. Now, finally, I want to tell you guys the two people I think this lens is perfect for. The first person is going to be the travel filmmaker. If you're someone that wants to shoot on a full frame camera and have one lens that's pretty small, it's lightweight, and can do all the things that most other lenses can, then this is definitely going to be a lens you would want to pick up. This for myself almost makes me replace my entire Micro Four Third camera, which I typically take out since it's super lightweight and I can bring a ton of lenses. This one lens could basically be all my lenses for my Micro Four Third G9 Mark II camera in one single lens, and then I can get the benefits of shooting on full frame. And then the second person is the run and gun filmmaker and photographer. These are probably someone who's more in the entry level to intermediate phases in their business, and this is just a good lens to have because it can get all of your things in one go. If you need to be all the way zoomed in to 200mm, or if you need to be all the way zoomed out to 28. This is basically a lens that is a catch-all lens and can do it all. And if you're someone who's looking for just a little bit more bokeh like the 24 to 70 f2.8, we'll have a video right here talking all about that. And then YouTube recommends you might like this video right here. Till next week, guys, peace.